Hi, my name's Helen and I'm co-director and founder of ANIMONDIAL, a responsible tourism consultancy working with travel businesses to better protect animals and nature in global destinations. Now, just like those before it, the COVID pandemic is believed to have stemmed from overexploitation of nature and poorly managed interaction with animals. The pandemic has revealed the fragility of the travel industry and the importance of greater protection of animals and nature for our own survival. But where to start and what steps can we take as businesses at this very, very challenging time to better manage our impact on nature and animals in tourism for the future? Join us in this session as we take a closer look at how we can build back better for animals and nature in tourism. We will be looking at the impact of the COVID pandemic on animals and the communities that rely upon them, the insights we as travel businesses can take on board to help prevent another pandemic in future, and looking forward, how we can work together to build back better for animals and nature. First of all, let's look at our reliance upon nature. In economic terms, nature is believed to have an estimated value generation of 44 trillion US dollars. That's over half of the world's total GDP. However, despite this, humanity's negative impact on the planet is not only contributing to the climate change crisis, but increasingly contributing to the occurrence of animal to human infectious diseases, such as COVID-19. So as nature is drained through human activities, including food production, deforestation, carbon emissions, and the poaching and trading of wildlife, and as we continue to capture animals for our own entertainment, we are not just harming nature, we are also risking greater exposure to disease and harming ourselves. But why should all this matter to us in the travel sector? Here are some of the biggest issues affecting animals, travellers and communities in tourism as a result of the pandemic. The lack of tourists visiting national parks may well have stemmed the tide of negative impact caused by over-tourism, but the lack of revenue has resulted in less money generation for conservation efforts. National parks and community conservation projects are closed, and it may be some time before they reopen. Now, with wildlife tourism supporting over 30 million jobs globally, lockdown puts a huge strain on local communities whose livelihoods depend upon income from tourism. And with park staff and anti-poaching patrols losing employment, threatened wildlife like the pangolin and the elephant are left increasingly vulnerable to further persecution. And with COVID-19 as a disease of animal origin, and just like SARS and more before it, it has likely originated through contact between people and animals, where the protective barrier of nature has been crossed. Tourism itself puts an enormous stress on the natural environment and encourages greater contact between nature and people, thus heightening exposure of viral transference. And of course, some animal species are also at risk of catching the virus themselves and passing it on. Tigers in the Bronx Zoo, New York, tested positive for COVID, and our primate cousins are also highly susceptible. With projects struggling for funds to continue their conservation work, we are at risk of losing some of our most vulnerable and loved species. With up to 60% of holiday excursions or experiences involving animals and nature, and up to 96% in Asia, we must all take positive actions right now. Spearheaded by the United Nations World Tourism Organization, our best protection against another pandemic is to act for nature, to reverse nature and biodiversity loss, and seek a fairer, more sustainable and responsible future. Tourism can play a huge role. Together we can influence the better protection of the natural environment and its biodiversity through an increase in our commitment to responsible tourism. Now, taking all of this into account, what steps can we take at this challenging time to aid our recovery and rebuild the travel and tourism sector for the better protection of our planet? The first action is to look inwardly at our current business approach to responsible tourism. Whilst operations are grounded, this is a very rare opportunity to review them, to return more effective and make the protection of animals and nature an integral component of our responsible tourism agenda. Here are some suggestions we can all take away today. Adopt an animal protection commitment and ensure this commitment is ingrained into all of your business practices and operations, from your policy to product sourcing to your supply chain. Ensure you offer only responsible tourism activities with good welfare standards. Use the opportunity to audit your tourism experiences that involve animals or that take place in nature to mitigate risk of zoonotic disease transfer and lower the impact of local harm to animals and people. Delist tourism activities experiences that involve the capture or hunting of animals for the protection of sport, trophy, or entertainment, and ask your suppliers to do the same. In fact, encourage your suppliers to adopt and update their own nature and animal protection commitments through selling only responsible experiences and proactively supporting animal and nature protection projects to retrain and improve standards where possible to avoid closure and loss of local employment. Educate your customers about animal and nature protection. Ask them not to pick up, collect, or buy animals or parts of animals or plants from the wild, and ask them to report any cases of mistreatment or bad practice. Ask your airline partners not to transport live animals, trophies, or products derived from animal or plant species that are classified as endangered or critically endangered. And invest in protecting and restoring nature. Support projects and non-profit organisations that genuinely protect animals and/or nature. Changing our relationship with nature is too great a task to do on our own. Working together, we can make big impact for the better protection of animals and nature in tourism. Here are some collaborative steps that we can all take together to make tourism a force for good. Sign up and contribute to the United for Wildlife Transport Task Force, the World Trade Tourism Council Declaration on Illegal Wildlife Trade, and the International Wildlife Trade Zero Tolerance Policy to join the global movement to support the protection of endangered species. Sign up to the World Economic Forum's Business for Nature initiative, working with governments to reverse nature loss by 2030. Create global tourism solutions, work together to establish and invest in new solutions to some of the biggest long-standing issues facing animals and nature in tourism. And work with NGOs to deliver the change. With a lack of time, resource, and budget to make meaningful impact ourselves, instead support non-profits to deliver the work on the ground. This can be as simple as signing a pledge. A great case study is a new initiative by the international animal protection NGO Four Paws, who have taken a brave stance to partner with the global travel sector to permanently close the live animal markets, curb wildlife trafficking, and bring an end to the dog and cat meat trade. They would love you to join their mission and sign their pledge. And finally, do not let all of this good work go unnoticed. Shout about your inspiring new commitments and actions, build a great reputation as leaders for responsible tourism, win over the hearts of customers and investors, Build your brand as one that cares for our world. And importantly, use your influence to inspire others to follow your lead and build back better for the planet. These past 6 months have given us the chance to take stock and change the way we think about our planet and our roles within it. Ultimately, whether this pandemic is good or bad for the environment depends not on the virus, but on humanity. When lockdowns ease, we have a choice of returning to unsustainable business as usual or take greater responsibility right now. So perhaps now is our chance to take stock, hit reset, and set new intentions towards a better future. Join us in our mission to protect nature and build back better. Thank you.